I'd like to call the City Council meeting to order for November 13th, 2023 at 5:30. And when you get ready, Tori, I need roll call.
Mayor Wendy?
Here.
Alderperson Baker?
Here.
Boonstra? Brondike?
Here.
Burgraff?
Here.
King? Mask? Van Kampen?
Here.
Wilkins?
Here.
We go on to the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is at the front of the room. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Very good. There are no appointments, so we go on to recognition of volunteer. And I will let Chief Nevlin take this point and have Jeremy Lightson come up front and say a few words on the city's behalf, please.
Jeremy was recognized for going above and beyond his job duties by Channel 8 in their Beyond the Badge series. In that, he was recognized for his involvement with the students on the 8th grade field trips that he has chaperoned in the past. So I let Jeremy kind of speak on what that means to him.
Actually, I know I've spoke to you guys as a council before. I say I have the best job in the world. It's pretty simple. When I was talking to Mr. Emerson, he just referenced the fact that he didn't feel safe sending his daughter on the 8th grade class trip. And then when he found out that I'm one of the chaperones every year, he's like, that made my decision a lot easier to take my daughter or send my daughter on the trip. I appreciate the fact that it gets noticed what SROs do, but basically it's an acceptance for the same thing that all SROs do. Obviously, we inherit 1,000 kids every year, or I do, but we love our kids, so we do whatever we can for them to help them be successful. So if that's what it means, and that's what it takes for somebody to send their children on that trip, because I find a lot of value in that trip, a lot of history. So anybody that gets to send their kids on that, I highly encourage that, just because first of all, not everybody gets to venture away from home, and it's kind of their first venture away. Unfortunately, I don't get to spend as much time with our middle schoolers. Just elementary school, high school is a lot more busy. Just more kids, more problems. So this gives me a chance to interact individually with our 8th graders before they come into the high school setting. Makes it a lot more personal, and I'm able to have a lot better conversations with them. And we already build relationships before they come in. The high school is where my office is, and it just makes it so much easier that we build those relationships before we get to high school.
This is the first time they flew, isn't it?
This is the first time. Normally we took buses, and then our last bus trip after COVID, they found out that it's harder and harder to get employees. I mean, they're in the same realm as everybody else, trying to find employees. So they said that because it's so hard to find drivers for the buses, let's just fly. And we have now minimized it. We are going to start combining 7th and 8th grade, and we're going to do it every other year. So that way 7th and 8th grade gets a chance. We're going to skip a year and then go try to get our numbers up, because we usually run right in the 35 range. We're going to try to get the numbers up a little bit, add an extra chaperone, and do it every other year. So that's kind of the thought process, and give everybody a chance to be able to see it. So after this coming summer, it'll be every other year from then on out.
Did you find that was a better way once you got out there? Because I think they had to eliminate like the Virginia Beach, and they had
That's
to eliminate.
all. It's a matter of opinion. It's a good question.
Okay,
if you wanted my opinion, I asked them to add one more day, to add Virginia Beach and Busch Gardens back in, because I think that's a fun day for the kids. it's hard on the chaperones
Yeah.
because, we're scanning a beach 200 yards, watching all these kids swim, but I think that that's beneficial for them. But where you come into that then is add that additional day adds the additional cost. So it's one of those things where what are you looking for? What are you getting out of it? The thought process is we want the kids to get the educational value. The fun day is just an extra added expense, and in this day and age, it's kind of hard to put forward that extra expense. So, do I think it's beneficial? I do, but I understand the other parts of it also.
If they get more students going, would that be something that they could add back on? Because I'm sure it was because of the cost of the flight, right?
I'm not exactly sure what the package deal, how they do the money
okay.
part of it. They just come to me every year and say, "Hey, you in for chaperoning?" And absolutely, it's.
You're a crazy person. I've done it before. It's you don't sleep.
No, I don't sleep anyway.
And maybe out at Virginia, when you get there, that contact the city, and they might provide some help for chaperoning the kids.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where the biggest issue that they have is trying to keep the cost down for the kids, because we do want the kids to be able to enjoy the trip.
Right.
Well, thank you for your hard work. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jen.
Okay, we go on to communication from visitors. Are there any? Nope. Okay. We go on to presentations. There are none. And then we go on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is to approve the council meeting minutes from October 23rd, 2023, the September's treasurer's report, which are on pages 7 through 14, and the bill list, all in one motion. And may I have that motion, please?
Motion.
Okay, a second?
I'll support that.
Okay, any questions or comments?
Yeah, on the treasurer's report, page 15, the card member service, Jim Ribhaven. Did I miss out on some rib dinner here or what? $170.
Oh, I think that was for Dan, wasn't that?
That was Dan's exit out meal that he had requested on his way out the door.
Oh, okay.
It's a select few that attended. I wasn't one of them.
I didn't know that.
No, we weren't invited, so.
Oh.
But that was what that was for. So any other questions?
Oh, in the city of Prophetstown, the body arm, what was that?
Employee
300.
Will Lukart was a lateral transfer in from Prophetstown, so there was a prorated cost for his body armor.
Oh, okay.
Very good. Hearing nothing else, then may I have roll call to approve?
Alderperson Banker,
Yes.
King, Mask, Van Campen,
Yes.
Boonstra, Wilkin. Yes. Brondike,
Yes.
Burgraff.
Yes. Very good, the motion passed. We go on to business, and that's number 9 on the agenda. A motion to approve the Christmas bonuses for city employees, 200 for part-time and 400 for full-time employees. May I have that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Support.
And a support. Are there any questions? This is something that we made last year that increased, and so this we kept it just the same as we did for last year. So without any other questions, may I have roll call?
Alderperson Burgraff,
Yes.
Banker,
Yes.
Brondike,
Yes.
Wilkin. Yes. Van Campen,
Yes.
Mask, Boonstra, King.
Okay. Now we go on to the committee of whole discussion, and we continue with the discussion on the liquor licenses. You all received a big hard bound copy, and in there, I created the booklet for the people that are going to be on the committee, and we'll talk about that on our next discussion item. But there were tabs in there for the different cities to see and things like that. Is there any sort of comments that you want to make right now, or The next one, I will ask for council's approval to create this committee. And I can do that as long as the council approves. Because we have more than 3 council members, I needed that, so. But before we get to there, is there anything you wanted to discuss out of what you've seen? Or do you have questions about the booklet?
There was a page number 7 in here that had all the amendments that were made since 2018. And then there were still some amendments on the pages following that, 8, 9, all the way through
Yep.
16. So were those not included in the summary page, or those additional beyond?
These were the ones that weren't included in our book of ordinances, and they were from, we talked about it, from 2019. And so they asked Tammy if she could gather those ordinances. So now you have every ordinance we've ever created up until right now, so.
Okay,
So the ones
I'm just confused on why this is in the order it's in, because there's ordinances, and then there's the summary page, and then there's more past it. So
Because
that's my,
those were the additional ones from 2019, so it should have collectively been going forward. Correct, Tammy?
I only copied what you told me to copy,
Right.
so I don't, the summary page that I made up a month ago was all the amendments from that particular date. What you have in this book.
this page? Is that what you're talking
Yes, what you have in this book, I don't know. I don't know what was put in there. I didn't compile that book. Wasn't it? Who compiled the ordinances, Fulton ordinances? Who put those in there?
I did.
Oh, you
I did. And so all I did was add to the back of the ordinances that we already had, the additional from 2019, and got it caught up to now. And so all I did was put that little dividing page in there so that you know.
I'm understanding now. I
Okay.
was thinking this was going with the pages before it, but this is before the pages after it.
Right.
Got it.
There you go. Anybody else have questions on the pages? These were given to me by Sue Van Campen. She did all the hard work as far as calling the cities and getting all of it. And Tammy and I both have done our fair share of copying and making a booklet, so. And we just put the tabs in where a new city began. So you can write on your own tabs. But that gives you somewhere to start. I think we should create the committee before we have major discussion, because this is a lot of information right here. So do we want to continue the discussion, or do you want me to go forward with creating the committee?
Is that something you can do? Because in the minutes it said
I
you
can't.
have more than 4 aldermen.
I can't have more than 3, but I can with council approval.
Oh,
So
okay.
it should have come in, and I had it be council approval, but it needs to be discussed first, and then I will bring it back as a motion next time. Unless you don't agree with the committee.
I think there's enough to go through that a committee makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get very far trying to do it in this setting.
No, I don't either. So you want me to go ahead and I'll make the committee, and there was an issue with me being the chair, but as the liquor commissioner, Rebecca and I talked about it, we feel that that's the role I should play there. So if you have any questions for Rebecca, you can ask them at this time, but that just seemed the fairest way to go forward with this. Not that I wanted to be on another committee.
I have a question. Do you think Rebecca should be included on these ordinances?
Not, well, personal opinion, until we get down to where we're deciding. I think that would be costly for us, so until we get down to where we might have questions for her, I don't know that she should be at every meeting.
No, I'm not meaning
Oh.
that. I mean,
Oh,
before
she
we,
will, oh, yes.
before we decide anything and bring it back to the council and then have
Yes.
Rebecca go through it all before.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yep. I just don't think she should be at every meeting.
No,
so.
I didn't mean that.
So we're all okay with me creating the committee? Okay. I'll put that on as an action item for next month, and then that will keep us going. We probably won't get much done until the first of the year, but at least we're going in the right direction. And now for number 3, it's discussion item on recreational cannabis versus industrial hemp. And it was pretty self-explanatory in there, and really, if you have any questions, I want you to direct them to Rebecca. She has all the legalese that we need. So does anybody have questions about that?
Well, where'd this come from? I guess, like, why is it in here? Was it brought up I wasn't at the last meeting,
Right.
so I didn't know if this was something that was.
Right. Alderman Van Kampen asked this to be put in the packet as a discussion item because she wasn't clear about how the bakery got to be, but when you look at all of Rebecca's comments, I mean, everything was done above board, what it was supposed to be.
No, I didn't understand the difference between industrial hemp and cannabis.
Right. And
There's a difference?
there is a difference.
Well, he's advertising cannabis. That's why.
But it is cannabis.
It comes
See,
from the
that's where
cannabis
you-
sativa plant. It
Yeah.
is confusing. It's
Yes.
based on the THC level. So the Cannabis Tax and Regulation Act, which is the state law that you based your cannabis ordinances on, exempts out in the definition, and that's included in there, industrial hemp. It says specifically that industrial hemp is legally not considered cannabis, even though technically it comes from the same plant. And what that
Comes
is
from-
it's cannabis with a THC level of 0.3% or less. So comparison, if you bring up the menu for the rec room, for example, their cannabis flowers are going to be somewhere in the 20 to 25% range. So it's minuscule comparatively.
Okay.
And this, Illinois legalized industrial hemp in 2018, which was following the federal government, because the federal government actually legalized industrial hemp as
I
well.
have that. Thing.
And
So
that's why they
it's
can
much
use
less
credit card,
potent.
too.
So who monitors that?
That was gonna be my question.
The Illinois Department of Agriculture.
So LDA is gonna go in there and check, because obviously they have THC labeled on some of their packaging.
Yeah, they do.
Right, so that's misleading for some dispensary. A lot of people are in an uproar about in our fair city, and I don't blame them because it's very misleading.
Well, I
Very.
went in
I don't
and
know if
talked
the
to them,
county are
Jeff, about
playing
that.
on the real dispensary we have and trying to garner business that way or what.
Well, they did it because they didn't want people to think that it was just a bakery. So they're like, you know, we don't want people, we're trying to be as upfront and open as possible. And because I said, that's been the cause of a lot of distress, that dispensary work.
It has.
And the reason they put it on there is because they wanted to be upfront and transparent with all the customers. That gave them the opportunity to talk about it. She says we talk about it with every customer that comes in here, and we explain everything and the amount. So it was a transparency decision, because I asked them, I said, can you take the word out? And they said, you don't want us to take that word out, because then it's going to look like we're just a bakery.
Yeah.
Infused food goods, I mean,
Right.
it's the point
Well,
across.
is it as a city's job, we don't monitor it then, the
No,
state
no.
does, so,
Right.
Okay.
so,
We
But
have
can
nothing.
we? Like liquor licenses, obviously, there's a state and then there's a city. This is so new, clearly we don't have anything in place.
The
Is it going to come to
CRTA,
that?
which is the Cannabis Tax and Regulation Act, specifically gave municipalities the ability to regulate cannabis. The Industrial Hemp Act does not.
Okay.
I mean, the only thing you could do is change your zoning so that they're considered an industrial hemp processor is, to say that you can't have industrial hemp processors within the business district going forward. But that's not gonna apply to this business because you, under the Illinois Municipal Code, you cannot use your zoning ordinance to shut down an existing business if it was legal at the time that it was open, and it was.
So, what are they considered in all these?
They're not considered anything under your cannabis tax, in your cannabis ordinance.
The
Under
license
state law, they're
classification.
considered an industrial hemp processor.
So they don't fall under any of these, and so they didn't have to pay a fine to the city to open or anything. So there can be 5 more people that open the same concept thing downtown Fulton right now if they wanted to.
Yes.
Well, how do we know that that's what they're putting in there is hemp and not something else?
Well, they're under
Because they're
legal
licensed by the state.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're under
They
legal
have to purchase,
obligation from the
they have to
state.
purchase the industrial hemp from a licensed industrial hemp cultivator.
Okay.
And that is tested at the state level. Industrial hemp cultivators have to have their crops tested by a state approved
Why do they-
laboratory.
Okay, I guess, but why don't they say hemp instead of cannabis?
Doesn't sound as appealing.
It's a legal distinction. It's
Right.
not a,
But there's been reports that people are getting high off of it.
Well, it's like a CBD kind of
CBD
thing.
is cannabis.
Right, and so isn't this.
That's where it's so confusing.
It is,
Very
because,
confusing.
right, it's the levels of THC in the product that make it not, or make it so it has to be under Illinois law. And if it's under tell me, help me.
0.3.
0.03%, then it's qualified to be that. And we have no jurisdiction over that unless for the future we go forward and we say no industrial hemp in the downtown, whatever.
I think we should consider having a limit of the number of businesses that we want to have of that nature in
Well, then you
our
can
business
make an ordinance,
district.
but we have to make it going forward.
Right, and I'm not-
That's excluded. Their
Right,
business is excluded.
Right, but I mean, do you guys agree that we would want to have some?
Because there's a
like,
lot of
number
controversy on
capping?
this. People are calling and I said, I don't know anything about this.
They're really good. I did go in and talk to them, and they did explain it to me very well, but
Maybe we should have them come here and explain it to all of us.
Because you know I'm gonna,
Rebecca, in this case, when they're talking like that,
Sorry, I
would
can't hear
that include, would you have to include CBD in that?
Probably.
That's what and many places sell CBD.
Yes, they do.
Right.
I mean, Sweet
Gas
Woodruff
stations
used to
sell
carry
So
CBD.
now you're getting,
Yeah, because there's 20, 40, and 60 milligrams you can get in coffee and cannabis. So that's confusing to me. I don't ever see any hemp.
Right, but it's hemp is.
It's a legal distinction. Industrial hemp still comes from the cannabis plant. It's still cannabis from a scientific standpoint. It's
For-
just
I know.
not legally.
It's like saying alcohol and liquor. It's the same thing. But
That's where
it's
the
different
confusion.
strengths.
Yeah, different strengths. That's
You know?
exactly right.
it's different strength, I can tell you, my husband processed an 8-acre hemp field. The difference is they sterilize all the female plants. That's why it's much lower in THC. There are no male plants in the field.
Interesting.
And it's hard to get them from crossing over. too.
Yes.
That's why Dan Dolan will put it in an enclosed area, because it's too easy to cross free. And
So
control.
our Illinois recreational cannabis law zoning and that does not count for them.
No, they are exempted out. Industrial hemp is explicitly excluded from the definition of cannabis for the Cannabis Tax and Regulation Act, which is what your statute is based on. You're using the same definitions.
And that's what they came and asked Rebecca if we had an ordinance that,
They asked Dan, and then Dan referred it to me.
Yep.
Neither one of us could find any way to restrict it under the city code.
Well, that's why it should have, I would have thought it should have been brought to the council, made aware of, so that we could have talked about this before we passed it. I mean, before they got it. But like I agree with Jackie, maybe we should consider, so,
I mean, it's just such a new thing, it wouldn't hurt to look into what are other towns
yeah,
doing, is this something that's going to be an issue, I don't know.
yeah, because according to this, they can't even advertise or put anything on their windows or anything related to cannabis.
That's a different
Yeah.
I know.
statute. That statute does not apply to them.
I know,
The
that's what you're
Industrial Hemp
saying.
Act is what applies to them.
Again, that's why this council should have been made aware of what they were opening, so that we could have discussed it.
But really,
but no,
how could
because
we have?
it was,
I mean, it's
if
like-
a
You
shoe
had
store
no
went in,
power to stop it unless you had managed to get his own ordinance changed
Yeah.
before it happened.
Because there is reports that people are feeling no pain on this.
well, everybody reacts to everything differently, and so,
Well, you can offer 20, 60, and 20, 40, and 60 milligrams. How much is that THC in that?
Like I said, they're not allowed to do industrial hemp above a 0.3% THC.
So either way,
Offer would
it's,
have to be-
where everything they're doing is legal,
yeah,
it's monitored by the state, we have no control,
yeah.
we're kind of.
So someone from the state actually goes in there and sees what they're doing?
I believe they're subject to inspection, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's the Illinois Department of Agriculture.
So the ordinance that we have will specify.
They're not even licensed by the same state department. Recreational cannabis is licensed by the Illinois Department of Finance and Professional Regulation, whole different department. It's
Yeah,
a
I got
completely
that.
different program.
I got that.
And that's why you can use credit cards there too, you know, you can't use credit cards out at the dispensary because it's not federally mandated across the country,
Right.
so.
But a lot of
But
it's
this
cash only
is,
over there.
but this is, industrial hemp is, so that's why you can use your credit card over there.
So the ordinance that we have in here is for anything that would qualify for over the 0.03.
Over the 0.3%.
Okay. And that one does have specific licenses set out.
So is there anything in town right now that does that, just the dispensary? Is that it?
Just the dispensary and the medical dispensary, yes.
Yeah, they would be the only things that
Yes.
qualify.
Yep.
So does he pay us a $10,000 license fee
Yes.
every year?
He does?
No,
No.
not Man Reed, the
No, the other
dispensary.
Dan Dolan does, yes.
He
So
pays
is it two?
He pays $10,000 for his regular license from Monday to Saturday. He pays an additional $2,500 for his Sunday
The Sunday.
license.
He actually pays a total of $40,000 a year, doesn't he, Tammy?
Does he have to pay the fee for the rec side and the medicinal side, or is it one fee for the whole building?
It was just one fee.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he pays $40,000
I
a year.
don't think you ever passed those extra things.
Oh, I thought we did.
Well, that was
Yeah.
before me, I would have to check into it, but I don't recall seeing any money like
Yeah,
that.
'cause I thought
coming
we
into the
did.
bank recs.
What would that have been for, Stu?
Infusion, usage,
Well, they don't,
dispensing.
well,
We have a list here of what it's.
but they don't infuse out there, because infusion would be like they're doing to these baked goods.
Right.
So,
I think you're just getting the 12,500. It was discussed on those other things, but they did not at that time do those things.
So the recreational cannabis, we've talked about, there's nothing we can do about the existing business. If we want to go forward and create something, we can. So if you want that to stay a discussion item, I can keep it there or whatever.
yeah, I think we should do that again because we have 3 missing.
Okay?
Would it make sense to throw that in with the liquor committee? So
No, that's too simple.
Too much?
Yeah.
Same line of thought, but
Yeah, it is. Okay, and then we're gonna go on to number 4, if we're okay going forward, the information for new council members, and that's what was just put in your packet, and it truly is for the new council members, so that you could see the articles of agreement. I thought some of those things were done when you guys were already here, but it's just a refresher so that you have those all on hand. And then, follow-up discussion on, website improvement.
Wendy,
Oh.
can I ask about those agreements? There's a lot of things that aren't being done in some of them.
Okay.
So, like, the crafters, like you're not on the crafters, are you?
No.
Committee? Like, it says there's supposed to be an alderman on the Early American Crafters Committee,
We don't have one.
and there isn't one.
No, and that's
And-
why I had, we found the agreement, and that's why we have it, and I had put in a package because I forgot about it, to be truthful. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's something we're kind of working on in our Parks Committee.
Right, that's why I had the agreement, the
But-
articles of agreement, because a lot of things
Yeah.
isn't being done on this agreement either.
And weren't you
Yeah.
concerned, Sue, about the monies? And that shows where the different monies for the building went and so there are monies there.
Yeah, the money's still there, they've never used it.
Okay.
That's, if that's correct, only the
We
one
used
amount, that's why I
one
had
amount.
Tammy put in, what, all that's been used.
Okay.
But there's, yeah. The city's not receiving reports from them at all. Like the museum, the Martin House, we're aware
Right.
of all their spending and this and that. Crafters have just kind of fallen away. So I think we need to kind of get reconnected with that group.
I don't think they have a lot of cash coming in though. I mean, it's
No.
not anything that
But
we have
It may be, but the issue lies then when something needs done at the canyon,
right.
who does it? And that's something that our committee will zero in on, but just a heads up that we may be coming to council with
I'm
something.
gonna talk about it tonight when we get to Parks and Rec.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okey-dokey. Then I'm gonna go on to the discussion, and I handed out all these, it's a billing invoice, I just got this today as far as, to print it out for you guys. This is the website information. Nick and I met with Lynn Roth, and he was, Chief Neblin was the contact person. He is a web design teacher at Loris, correct? In Dubuque. And he does this kind of on the side, so it would be less expensive for him to do this than we get a full-blown designer in here. So this is what he has. I have him coming next meeting to answer any questions that you might have. But he could do he found all the absences that we don't have. I mean, we don't have a connection to Facebook. We don't have this connection. We don't have that connection. It's not easily looked at or found easy to navigate in that website. So he said there's lots of things we can do to make it easier and less, and maybe we need to take some of the things out, he said. So this is his proposal. We've started this, and that was a request that we've had for a little while, so just making you aware. And so he will be here next meeting to talk to us about that. And just kind of look at what he has there, and he will tell us, what about our program now that's ancient or something, and he said,
Yeah, it's about a 10-year-old program that's kind of outdated is what our platform's built on, so his suggestion is moving it over to WordPress,
yes,
which is
Yep.
what, I think he said like 80% of websites right now are running on the WordPress. They're easier to maintain. His
and
big
they're
thing,
more protected too.
yeah, there's more integrated protections. His big thing was his training, the onboarding side of things is where, again, is the costly side of things. But then once you get it onboarded and figured out, then you can start piecemealing that back to an individual, and they can maintain it for considerably cheaper. Which his solution was, after a couple months and years, that you have someone in-house who can continue to maintain it, and I'm just here on the backside a couple times a year to do some major overhauls and tweaks. So.
Or if we have problems.
Yeah,
But it's $650 fee annually?
that'd be your
That's-
website hosting and all that and everything, because that same website host also hosts all our secure emails and
Oh,
so.
okay.
And you have to have that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, it's something to get started with, and so, like I said, Lynn said he would be here next meeting for us to ask questions. And he can explain it much better than we can do. So it's always nice to have
in
a
place now of our current website.
She just said the last, what is it,
2015, they redid it.
Okay.
2015.
So we don't pay anybody to maintenance it or maintain it right now, currently?
So we pay the host, we pay the website, we have the website host that we have to pay, and then,
If we had major problems, we reach out to the people who designed the website, which is TDG Communications. And then, of course, Tori was updating it for a while until she was actually told to stop.
Yeah. But anyway, so we're gonna go forward with that, and so he'll be here next meeting for questions. It just needs to be done. One of those things that you don't like to do, but you have to keep up on that technology, so. We'll go on to committee reports, and finances is on page 72 and 74. Do you have any questions for Jeff? Barb's not here. She wasn't feeling good this evening, so.
Would that be under treasurers too? I just have a question about the treasurer's report.
Okay, that was way at the beginning, but you can ask a question.
I'm sorry. Well, I just wanted to know, okay, she said we received 11,100 from video gaming in September, but according to that video gaming report from the state, we got $12,227.81 instead of 11,100.
I don't know about that, Tammy, do you?
I don't know, what's on the treasurer's report is the check that we received. What's on this other report that Barb put in, or?
Yeah, I did.
Or
This
you
is
did,
the
Jeff?
state's website.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
I
was just
noticed
wondering
that
why.
discrepancy too. I don't know.
So that bears looking into.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering,
It does.
because we got one thing said that we received 11,100 from video gaming in September, but according to the Illinois Gaming Board, the video gaming report, we were supposed to receive $12,227.
And it could be just the month that the checks come in. So, I mean,
This one's for September
well,
too.
what they have on their website doesn't mean we always get the check on time. It would have to say, usually when a check comes in from the state, it'll say collected month, vouchered month, and what's the other one? So, I mean, it might be, next month you might get that 11,000. Let me check into that.
Okay, yeah, because this one says September from the state and hers says September. I was just wondering, because it was $1,227 difference.
That's an amazing how much,
You see them amount?
yes, it's amazing to me how much that's utilized. And I understand why the businesses kind of need it, so.
When you look at one month of September, well, that's a year, $16.6 million to play to Julie's.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of money in our little town.
And
Yeah.
look at the others, Jeff.
Oh,
I mean,
there's a
it-
bunch. There's,
It's-
yeah, no,
Julie
it
is the biggest one.
It is. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
but she's just a gamer then.
Yeah.
So that makes a difference too.
And it does.
These
Yep.
are all
It does.
supplementing
Yep.
businesses, the other ones. They only have, what, 4 in each business? And I don't know how many Julie has. That was before my time.
Six, they all have 6 machines.
They all have
Except
six.
for,
Oh, they all have
then there's
6.
5 at Manny's.
Okay.
Everybody else has 6.
And what, we're supposed to get $250 for each machine?
Yep.
Yeah, I
The
think.
city permit
Yes.
plus the municipality
Yeah.
share of the game.
Right.
When's that year end, Tammy? You know, like when do we get that? Is it, it's a goal?
It's calendar
I
year.
thought it was
Okay.
May.
Renee does that also. She collects the video gaming license.
So that'll be April that we get those things in, or May?
That's fiscal.
I think it's January to
I think
January.
it's calendar year for
Okay.
Yeah, January to January.
Oh, I think the liquor license is for.
Yeah.
Different,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think so too. Okay, any other questions for finance? Otherwise, we'll go on to personnel, and we don't have anything. Economic development is page 75. Any questions there?
Was there ever any update on that Loyal's Pizza? Are they not coming
No,
anymore?
they are not coming.
That all fell through?
That all
That's
fell
too
through.
bad.
He called me and talked with me, and he said the rent that he was paying became astronomical, and there's no furnace in the right side, and he has to have a furnace. And the furnace to the back wasn't working, and the landlord said he wasn't going to replace. So now the downtown development group is looking into purchasing, but that's,
Who owns it?
it's an LLC like out of Chicago or
Okay.
something. And so, yeah, that building needs a lot of help.
Yeah.
But it would be nice if the downtown development group got it, because this is what he said, the gentleman that was gonna open, he said there was so much out of pocket that I had to pay to even get up and running, that I couldn't see it. And he says, now I've lost all the money that I put in there so far.
And he's not the first one to do that.
No,
No,
he's not.
busted water pipes and everything.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
bad.
It's
I like
bad.
that you guys are invited them to come. I think working
Yeah.
together, you guys
Yeah.
can
Yep.
get some stuff going.
Okay. And then Parks and Rec, Sue, you had something?
Yeah, they, we reviewed the Tumpkin grant, which we're still gonna go after, that goes after, in February. So, but we were talking about Heritage Canyon up there with the American Crafters and that, because it takes a lot of money to support Heritage Canyon up there. So, American Crafters, why, they put on, then I got this agreement, and actually, they're supposed to be working with the city, and, so I'd like to see them, and we had talked about discussing maybe, like we do with the Windmill Cultural Center, giving them a flat amount out of video gaming and
Okay.
to go towards, because it is city property, we do need to do that and have it put together, and they get to keep the donations and that for any event that they put on, but it's still a city-owned thing, and it's their money, I know they do it, but I think we still need to have a report of
We
what.
do if we give them money, but as of right now, we don't give them anything, correct? So
No, even for their events, what they bring in, we should still have to see.
According to the agreement, we're supposed to get a yearly financial report.
Yes.
From
Okay.
That's
by
what this
December
agreement
1st.
says.
And I have requested it, I just haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's supposed to be the detailed budgets and reports describing and specifically income for the box donations and what it was for, and the expenditures that they had
And
paid out.
that's through the crafters and not through the caretaker.
Right.
No, that's the crafters.
Okay.
That's what this article's agreement, and I had asked Tammy if this was still in effect, and
I
nothing
know
has changed.
Dan reached out to Carol for a financial report. They kinda got a little upset, they didn't think they had to give one, but I had thought he got one from them, but
No, I think that was the,
I'm sure there is.
I'll reach out to her.
yeah.
And as far as the buildings, out of 13 of them, I had 7 I had 7 sponsors. None of that money has been touched, only $198, which I had Tammy put in.
Yeah.
That's the only thing, that money is still there.
Okay.
So, for them too, but that money has to remain with the building.
It would be nice to show the people that gave what was being done.
Right,
there's
and
not-
Carol's very aware that the money was there because she sat in on the meetings with us.
Okay.
Okay?
So is that something in the past that they have, like, that their committee has done, as they said, oh, this is our project right now, this is our initiative, we're gonna do this at this building? Or
Never.
have they never, ever really done the caretaking maintenance part of the physical buildings? They just use it for events?
Well, we don't know. It's supposed to be, they're supposed to, and then report back to us by all this articles agreement here. It's kind of complicated, but it would still be nice.
Well, nothing in this agreement asks them to do maintenance on the building.
No, we are responsible for that.
So,
But how are we to know what
Yes.
needs to be done?
So
unless
the
they
way it's
come?
worked in the past is Wayne, at the end of every year, will tell me, hey, this is kind of what I'm looking at for next year. And then we'll meet up in the spring again before he starts. And then he'll tell me, hey, I'm going to do school floor this year, or the roof on the doctor's office, whatever it may be. And then, I'll check to make sure the money's there and say, yep, you're good to go. And then that's how we
So
move
it's done
forward.
through Public Works?
Right.
Oh, okay.
That's how I've known what buildings he was going to do.
so that's really doesn't involve the American Crafters at all.
No.
And it might be easier
But
to just
the
keep
downfall is we
them
don't have
out of it.
Wayne anymore. He is since retired from
Retired.
doing. He said he would help out until we would find somebody, but trying to find somebody to do everything that Wayne did up there will be.
No.
that'll
And
be
he
tall
was a
order.
city employee.
He was,
then,
yes.
And worked
Yep.
through Public Works?
Yep.
Okay.
So this,
How many hours, Eric?
he would do maybe 4 hours, a couple times a week. Usually.
No, he had 20 to 30 hours.
It was there a few hours every night.
Was it?
Okay.
See, and you note on the articles agreement, the operation, and how they're supposed to operate. And then we're supposed to get a report by the 1st of December. Then the council shall review any recommendations from the crafters for approval on or before the first Monday of the following January each year.
Yeah, so we can put it in the budget, right?
Correct.
Okay. So
That
we need
makes
to
sense.
contact.
So,
You just need to do it.
That's the hard part.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the big disconnect is there hasn't been a representative from the council on that group, because it says right in here that there's supposed to be an alderman on that committee. So then that would be the piece that would be kind
well,
of,
is how we did it. American Crafters is supposed to come to a Parks and Rec meeting.
Oh, okay.
That's where they're supposed to be here.
oh,
So that's when we can discuss this,
okay,
because it falls under Parks and Recs.
right,
Okay.
okay.
Well, that would make it easier for the Parks and Rec Committee.
Yeah.
So we don't
And
have
Dan
an
and I
individual
had
going
met
up
with
there.
Carol, 4 or 5 times this last year. So,
So they know what they're supposed to do, they're just not, do they not have the attendance though, Sue? That, are they, I don't know, okay.
the other thing is, the buildings up there, they're owned by the city. And, to think about having a policy, because someone's calling in and they got something to donate, which is really nice.
Right.
In that. But right now, they're going into Tori's basement, the city basement. And I've got to think of a way or a policy or to do something that thankful that they donate. But if they cannot use it in any one of their buildings, we can't. We should
Right.
not be accepting it, because all the buildings are plumb full of all their stuff.
Okay.
And the city couldn't get anything in there if they wanted to.
Who are we leaving that discretion to? Are we leaving that to the crafters to say, we don't need this?
Well,
Or are we,
Well, I
who
think-
does it have to go?
I think we're going to have to.
I think we're going to have to set up a meeting with them and tell them, hey, all the stuff that's in the big red barn that they have,
Yeah,
it's stuff they're not using. So it's
Okay.
like, okay, if we're not gonna use this, it's broke, it doesn't fit the time period, whatever the case may be, I think it needs to be said, if we can't use it, then
Yeah,
let's,
we have to
let's
figure
move it
out
on down the road.
policy.
And I talked to Tori this morning, and she was telling me all the stuff that's stored in her basement right now that should not be down
And they
there.
keep bringing more and more.
Where are they getting this stuff?
People donate it to them,
And so
but it
there's
never
been-
makes its way to the building, and so now we're just
Well,
storing
they should
more and more
be-
stuff.
we
You
should
know,
have,
turning the buildings like, hey, let's take this piece out and put this one in, replace things, keep them
well,
fresh.
some of these buildings are so small, but you can't get an organ or a piano, and I've been up there and I've seen it, and now the basement, which it's gonna leave to us, and none of the stuff's insured,
right.
and so, and if they don't want it, then we're the one that's gonna pay to
Well, a lot
dispose
of
of it.
people just can't let it go without it serving a purpose, and so they feel like if they bring it, just like if they do at the historical
So I
society.
think if we have a policy drawn up, if you can't use it of some type, maybe, then thank you, we appreciate you calling us, but we can't use that, so we're
An
not collecting.
addendum to put onto that.
Add
Okay.
onto that, and let them know.
Is that possible, Rebecca? Sure.
Wendy,
It
just
always
like you
comes
mentioned
in
that all the stuff that is down in the basement was there when we moved in a year ago this month. We have not accepted.
Oh, okay, you have not, okay.
Yeah, because I think Dan and I told you finally, don't,
Yeah,
no more.
Yeah. It's been down there, and it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
It's a huge basement, so we
yeah.
don't mind, I guess. There's a piano and organ.
Yeah, but it's just stuff.
Yes.
I've been down there and it's like,
And they already got, how many barns are up there, Eric, that are full of their stuff?
Well, just the big red one. As you come up to the canyon, that one's full. Really, you can only get a golf cart in there. That's the only thing that'll fit. Other than that, you're not. And you're just walking on top of stuff. So that's where I think we need to talk to them and say, hey, this needs to get cleaned up because it is our building. So.
Yeah. And if we do need building material or anything to be stored for up there, we have no place to go with it.
okay. So we're looking for a new Wayne.
We are. If you know of anybody,
All
send
right.
them my way.
Well, he was he did everything.
Did.
Yeah.
He's definitely gonna be missed.
Phil's the new.
Thanks, Phil.
Hey, Phil. You don't want no part of that, Phil?
It's both ways week, you can just start setting
Yes.
stuff up.
Yeah, there we go. It's supposed to be out Monday. We probably missed our time.
That's right. We might know the right people.
Yes, that's right. To see where they've been and where they haven't. But that's good, Sue. We'll just check into that and keep them
Yeah,
updated.
and get a policy so that, we appreciate, a proper way so that we have a policy
Right.
so that when somebody calls, we can tell them this, so it's not being rude to somebody, but,
Yeah, but you can't
and if
just
they
take
do accept
everybody's-
something that they want, it goes right into the building, not into.
Right, into storage. We're not the storage.
Yeah, we have to
keepers.
say, sorry, but there's no place for an
Right.
organ. And then it's like, we can't
Because there's a
accept.
big organ down in your, is it?
Oh, yeah, it's
Yeah.
huge.
And a piano.
And a big piano. It's huge.
Okay.
Does the piano work?
Oh, that can't move. It's finding somebody to move them anymore.
I know, right?
All right, we're gonna go on to public safety. There was nothing. Marina, page 77. Any questions? Then we go on to tourism, zoning, nothing there. I think I should add on this budget needs for next year is upgrade to water billing. We've talked about it, we need it, it's really old up there, so I've had a couple people complain that we don't have online billing, but There's other options for them, but
Well,
that,
I think the website, maybe they,
yes.
we should ask him when he's here if that's a function that they could build in.
Yep. So, anyway, but I wanna
But it
keep
needs to
that,
be
We
a
should
func-
have that on website,
It needs to
that's
be a
something.
function in our software to accept it.
right.
They just can't
Yeah,
put it in on the website without it working with their software.
true.
And that's why it is a must. It has to go in the budget next year. Update this.
And that's a $40,000 we're looking at,
Last time it was
40,000.
45.
Yep, okay. I just, Tori, remember to put that on that line of needs. Okay, and then we go on to mayor's report. I talked to you about the website, but this morning I met with Whiteside County Senior Center gentleman, his name,
Dale Smith.
Smith, yes. Dale Smith, yes. And he runs the one over in, I'm gonna let you have two, because I'll stick them in their mailboxes too. He runs the one over, of course, in Sterling, where everything happens, because on the west side of the county, nothing seems to happen. And so he was aware of that and said, you know what, we need to do more for this west side. And he had some ideas. He wanted to know if we were, thinking positive of that. And I said, oh, absolutely. I did tell him we had, and Eric and I have talked about the fact that we have the Cattail Park that we could use that building as a senior center location. And if you see on the front page all the things those seniors get to do, he says, now, we probably couldn't duplicate all of the programs, but we could duplicate some of them. And then on the back page, it shows the meals we used to have. And can somebody help me with that? What did we used to have here that was Meals on Wheels, and was that run through? And I thought the Kiwanis.
Harbor Crest.
Oh, okay. And the Kiwanis delivered. Is
Yes.
that what it was?
Yes,
Okay.
always take that.
Yep. Well, he said this company that they work through, it's $3 a meal. I mean, it's just on the back side of the front page, Sue. The back side is the meal program. And then they also have day trips. Now, all of us can be part of this, but he also asked if, we had a way to get the newsletter to the seniors. And I says, well, there's an $850 cost, but Clinton Printing will do a 4-page newsletter. And he says, that's kind of all we would need. So what he's going to do is bring it to his board. He wanted to see how receptive we were. And I was just like, I think whatever we can do for our seniors. I don't know, I know that the Drives building have plans, but that's, we've got probably 5 years before that's even up and running. So couldn't we do something for our seniors? And we did have a program that was coming to this chamber. What was it, Tammy? The first Tuesday of the month or something like that?
Yeah, Tuesday started in the morning, and then they switched it to the afternoon, but they lost help in employees coming over,
Right.
so that kind of fizzled in June.
Yep. And they are aware of that. They said, but
Was that a different program?
no, it's still through the Whiteside
Whiteside County
County.
Senior Center.
And it
It was basically just for information,
Right.
Jackie. They would come in and ask Social Security questions or Medicare questions and stuff like
What about using one of the local churches as a place to host?
well, and that's what Tammy and I were talking about this afternoon, because they need a,
Presbyterian Church would be a really good place.
Yeah.
They'd have the kitchen and they'd have.
yep, and we need
that.
a
Certified kitchen.
kitchen like that. And so, but whatever, I think it's a good idea to going forward. So he was going to meet with his group November and ask me to come over, and if anybody else wants to come over with me to go to their meeting. And I said I'd be more than happy to. These trips that they have, I mean, they're
Do they
for us.
have a full-size bus, or is it the transit bus?
It's just the transit bus.
Okay, because
And
I know
so-
a driver that comes over here that
Yes.
drives this bus.
Yes, but you have to go through specific, you have to be, go through the request and everything versus our MTA busing, so.
Correct.
Anyway, that's something for us to consider. I was pleased that he reached out to the west side of the county, and we can look at this, and I'll have more information as we go forward. So I thought that was
An excellent little conversation that we had this morning. And that's pretty much all I have, except for when we go, we're gonna have to go into closed session a little bit later. But I don't have anything